Hi friends. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, which, as you may remember, for some of you friends who have been watching me, we decided to just shorten the Wit, Wisdom, and Wine to WWW. So it's three W's with Daryl Ann. I'm really happy to see you back because I got more stories to tell, for sure. I'm sitting here again in front of my fire. Winter is still outside. Yeah, it's still cold here in the Northeast, but I don't know where you're watching from, but I talked to my Florida friends today, and they said it's like 78 and gorgeous. So maybe if you're lucky enough to be in Florida or Arizona or California, it's not cold and windy outside. So whatever it is, wherever it is, I'm just happy you're here. In my last video, I mentioned, at the beginning, I mentioned something about names have been changed to protect the innocent and the guilty. But I haven't changed the first names. So any first names I give you will be the authentic names. Okay, great. So I left off talking about my second disastrous job and that my fiance Bob came running in, etc. And there was mayhem. Okay, so I'm going to continue on a little bit with my story and tell you that after all of that going on and the fiance and the wedding preparations and the jobs, Bob and I finally did get married in the year 1962. It was like one of the happiest days of my life. I was marrying my guy, my big, strong, good-looking, smart former Marine, and everything was great. Now, back then, I mentioned before about the Hollywood movies. The Hollywood movies back in the 50s and 60s were like, you get married and then you immediately have a child and then you might have 6 or 7 children. That was what we were fed back then, okay? So now I'm talking about, again, the early 60s. And the fact that women, after they got married, were like, oh, okay, well, we have to start having those children. That was our goal in life back then. So without too long, I actually became pregnant with my first child. And I was lucky enough to have that child who was a boy. And you may remember back when I was talking about my father, J.D., wanting all boys because he was just, knew nothing about females. Well, I knew a lot about females because my family had the monopoly on females, okay? I eventually had 2 daughters. I had 4 sisters. I had 6 female cousins. I had 3 female nieces, okay? We were just a whole colony of females who never stopped talking, okay? So finally, a boy. I had a boy. Wow. Okay, so that was a really, really good thing. So let's proceed a little bit more into my 20s. I actually had all 3 of my children in my 20s, and life was rolling along. But during the pregnancies and the deliveries and the children, my husband, my then husband, Bob, started to climb up the ladder of success back there in the 60s. He was a born salesman, and he wound up landing a job with a division of a pharmaceutical company back then. And as a result of having a sales job way back then, you got a lot of perks. I mean, perks that probably don't even exist anymore. But he had the perks. And so there was a lot of travel involved in sales back then, national sales. So we started to actually travel. And we were just kids. I mean, I got married at 22, he was 23. After a couple of years, it was, hey, we're going on a trip. We're going on a business trip. What? Oh, gotta adjust those glasses again. I might take a little pause to actually have a drink. Actually, this is a Manhattan, a cocktail, which I do indulge only on Friday nights and only after 5 o'clock. So let me take a sip of my Manhattan. Yep. Pretty good bartender I am. So we started to do some traveling. which was amazing to me since I'd never traveled out of the state of New Jersey. And one, or maybe the second travel that we made, was we went to a rather famous resort called the Greenbrier in, oh gosh, Daryl, I think it was South Carolina. Wow, okay, should have looked that up, right? But, you know, a lot of years ago. No, wait a minute, I think it was West Virginia. Anyway, it's very well known. So we had to take a very, very small plane from a larger plane. Now, mind you, I hadn't flown hardly at all. And I happened to be pregnant at that time with my third child, and was kind of big. And so we had to take a small plane to fly into this resort, the Greenbrier. And I just, pretended that I had been a world traveler because there were other people on board, and I didn't want to appear scared. But I was a little scared. I think the plane held 8 people, okay? So we get in the plane, and there was this really gorgeous, good-looking pilot. Now, mind you, he was the only pilot. There's no such thing as 2 pilots in a small plane. And I actually remember his name. And I will actually tell you his first name because it's something that's just always stuck in my mind, even with this 80-year-old memory. His name was Captain Tate, okay? So we got on the plane, and Captain Tate turned around and said, "Hi, everybody. Well, we're going to take a half-hour flight into the Greenbrier. Does anybody want to sit up front and be my co-pilot?" And we all looked around, and I thought, hey, I can do anything. Are you kidding? And so I said to Bob, I'm going to be his co-pilot. And he said, okay, go for it. So I got up and I sat in the front seat next to Captain Tate. Oh, wow. I felt like this was an incredible adventure, sitting next to this pilot in this small plane. And, okay, so the engines revved up, and I'm like, And the plane took off up into the air. And then I looked down and realized that the ground was pretty close, and this plane was pretty small, and it made a lot of noise, and it was kind of warm up there in the co-pilot seat with Captain Tate. And so I kind of started to feel a little bit queasy, but hey, I was brave, I was strong, I was young, and I was pregnant. So after a couple of minutes, Captain Tate is talking to me, saying, "How do you feel? You doing okay?" Yeah, I'm doing fine, doing fine. And then a couple of minutes more went by, and I started to feel kind of queasier, like kind of really. Now I think probably I was like not big pregnant, maybe like 4 months pregnant. So anyway, after a couple of minutes, he looked over at me, and I really do remember this. He said, "You're looking kind of green. You're looking kind of green." Oh, really? Okay, I'm good. No, are you sure you don't want to go back and sit in the back? Well, maybe. And he said, okay, when you go in the back and sit down, there's bags under the seats. There's white bags. You might need it if you feel sick. Oh, okay. No, I'm okay. I'll go in the back. So I got in the back, and Bob said to me, "Uh-oh, you don't look good. And I said, he told me something about bags, and Bob found a bag. And you know what happens in those bags. Oh, yes, it happened, okay? So I was embarrassed. I was mortified. I was like, Captain Tate is going to think I'm such a wuss, But when are we going to get to this Greenbrier? Do I see it in the distance? And then I did see it in the distance, this big mansion surrounded by a golf course. And I thought, okay, we made it. And we landed. And yes, the Greenbrier was actually pretty darn good. So that was my first experience in a small plane. Certainly not my last, to be repeated many times over the years, many times. So I wanted to kind of give you a little story about that. And I wonder if any of you have flown in, a small plane like that? Have you had an experience like that where you kind of, regretted being there? I'd love to know about that actually. And I wanted to make another note, a little bit going back, because I digress a little, in talking about the jobs that I've told you about and the jobs that are coming. Actually, business to me is all about people. A job is a job, but it's the people you work with, the people that you like or don't like. But if you have a job and there are some people that, you really do enjoy being with, keep those friendships. Hold on to those friendships. If you change jobs, think about, Joe that you really enjoyed back then. He was great. Or, Betty, hey, she was funny. And maybe keep in contact with those people, because you will find that you will share those experiences that no one else had in your new life back in your old life, and it's priceless. It's really priceless. So think about holding on to those friendships, through the various jobs that you have. So I kind of skipped a little bit there. So I have more stories to tell you as I go on with my adventures with Bob, and there are plenty of adventures, plenty of great times. So just remember, life is ups and life is downs. But remember, keep on to those good times, because I certainly have. And I want to end by, actually, the way I'm going to end all of these videos, okay? Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I hope you all have a great day, great night. Hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.